Here is an aerial photo from Google Earth of the Granada Studios Tour location. This is the newest image they've got from 2023. Yes, it's got some of the buildings still being constructed, but I can certainly work out where I was in conjunction with the video footage. So it's going to be relatively easy to spot the landmarks of the Granada Studios Tour. What I've also done is overlaid that onto this older photo from the year 2000. This was taken after Granada Studios Tour had closed, but all the major landmarks are still intact. So again, it's going to be relatively easy to spot the major areas of the Granada Studios Tour and match them to the modern day equivalent. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mark off all the landmarks around the Granada Studios Tour area. So these are the landmarks that appear in my video footage. They appear in some of the old VHS video footage from YouTube. Most of them are still there, but it just gives you an idea of the surrounding area before we start focusing on the tour location itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Marriott Hotel. This is one of the major landmarks that remains untouched, what it looked like in the days of the Granada Studio Tour. That is there, and also it's got its car park and its fountain location here. Next up is the lock. This lock here features in quite a few videos and could be seen from the Granada Studio Tour car park. Again, that is still there to this day. Next, we're going to look at the major Granada Studios building. This was the famous building with the Granada Studios logo on the roof. So that is there. We've got the Science and Industry Museum. The main building is here. They also had some secondary buildings that are there. Now that was also to do with historical rail buildings, and they're still there as well. We also have the railway bridge that was used by the Science Museum for the mini railway tours that no longer operate, and that is there. They're the main iconic landmarks that are centered around the Granada Studios Tour area. So we'll move on now and mark off the major parts of Granada Studios Tour itself. So first off, we'll start up here. We've got the car park. I shall even, with my shaky hand, attempt to draw a nice box around this car park. This was the main car park for Granada Studios Tour, and it was right outside the entrance. The entrance for Granada Studios Tour is around about here. It has changed slightly, I'll admit, because this is a number of years since it closed, but the kiosk system and the main entrance is here. You've got the Starlight Theater and what would have been American Street in front of it here. The entrance to the tour itself, once you're inside the complex, was here. The bonded warehouse is of course here. That building there is what I call the Coronation Street Experience / Community Centre set. You have Coronation Street itself, which is here. There was what was Checkpoint Charlie kind of area here. Studio 2, where they had Baker Street, is here. The Houses of Parliament set was there. And that is about it for the Granada Studios Tour as of late 90s, or the picture 2000. So if we go back now and we bring modern day photo back into play, we should see where everything was. So it's near enough right. I had to move it about a bit, but essentially the Marriott Hotel is here. The lock is still a little bit over there. Granada building, yeah, that's about right. You've got the railway bridge, which I saw, the old railway buildings, and the science buildings. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So, Coronation Street, yes, we saw that. I was right. I knew it was that building. I knew they hadn't changed it. That Stables pub was the Coronation Street Experience / community centre on screen. I knew it was the same building. And, of course, the pub that people could go to on the Granada Studios Tour is part of the Stables pub there anyway. So that again, I knew I was right. Obviously, the bonded warehouse hasn't changed. That's exactly there. Studio 2 hasn't changed. Likewise, the Houses of Parliament building is still there. This is the major change. Now, I could see the entrance to where you went for the tour, and its elevated area where you went up to Studio 2. That you can still see from the ground level. So that's still there. This is where it gets really interesting, because I was trying to work out where the entrance was or where the car park was. I thought they'd done something with the river. I really had. But the car park was sitting right on the front of this Aviva Studio, and also the high-rise buildings and kind of areas here. So it was, the car park was there. It's just deceptively small when you stood there, because of the buildings are so big and there's so much space taken up by this front of this studio. So it was really interesting to kind of see that overlaid. And likewise, the entrance, I knew I was right to begin with. When I first talked about it, I thought the entrance was sort of somewhere down here underneath this kind of gantry, because if I just drop this back, here's the road, and we'll just quickly draw in the road. So the road, shall I do that, came under here, which it still does. It stops, it carries on, and it goes, and this is where it's going to get a little bit messy, it goes straight across there. But if we look on the modern day thing, you can sort of see I was right. I thought the entrance was here, because I was kind of lining up with the bonded warehouse, but it wasn't until a bit later on that I came walking down this pathway here that I realised, when I could see the bonded warehouse on my left, I could look and realise that actually, no. The American street was running down here, which is where the Starlight Theater is. And there's the adjoining road. So the entrance had to be further across. And I was near enough right that it is just underneath this building. Because this is the bit you can walk under. This is kind of the pedestrian way. So it was actually further off to the right, away from this canopy, not here, where I actually thought it was. It's also really interesting to see that they've changed the road as well, because the road there, which no longer exists, it's the footbridge. It's the footbridge that you, oh my god, it's the footbridge that you walk under to get a view back across the site. So they've kept the position of the bridge, but it's no longer the road, it's a pedestrian way. The railway lines slightly change on the bottom left, where you can see this major new railway line going over where the road bridge would have been. But back then, the railway bridge wasn't there, and it was just small roads. That is really interesting. you can see that everything else, one way or another, is still there. And that's really, really interesting that despite all this major redevelopment, the majority of buildings on the Granada Studio Tour, the majority of locations are still intact one way or another. Brilliant stuff. So there we go. There is the Granada Studios Tour location as it is today. Put a comment in the comments below. Let me know what you think about all of that. What do you think about the redevelopment of Manchester in general? What are your memories about the Granada Studios Tour? Because I'd love to hear what you've got to say. I'll be back soon with more nostalgia related topics. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel and give this video a like, and I will see you again very soon. Cheerio for now. Bye bye.